Hey guys, so I'm Peter Hurley and you're in my studio and I have a ton of light modifiers behind me because I am doing this tutorial to show you how to mold the face with light. This is all about shaping the face and seeing what we can do. You might know me for my headshot work. I've shot actors for 12 years on a white background. I use a simple KinoFlow mixed strobe setup, which we're gonna go over in this video as well. But I also shoot celebrity portraits and a ton of other stuff. And when I'm out on location or I'm in the studio and I want a different look to my light, I'm using strobes, guys. And I'm using modifiers and I'm mixing it up and I'm getting in there and I'm watching exactly what it's doing to the face. So we're gonna give you answers for why this modifier does something, then this modifier, then that modifier. And we're gonna compare it all and you're gonna learn from this. You're gonna be able to know exactly what lighting is doing to the human face. Guys, all of my career, the light on the face has always been the most important thing. Yes, I shoot portraits and I worry about the body, and if I'm shooting fashion stuff, I worry about the clothes, but it's really all about lighting the face for me. So in this tutorial, we are gonna go and run the gamut of lighting. We're gonna go into soft light, we're gonna go into hard light, we're gonna go into where the shadows are, when you wanna fill them, how you wanna fill them. We're gonna go how to accentuate cheekbones and jaw lines and all this kind of stuff that's really imperative that you get into your shots when you're taking pictures of the face. Have you ever looked through magazines and seen images and you'd be like, I wonder how they do that? We're gonna start to demystify that a little bit for you and give you a sense of why images look the way they do and what could be going on in that image. So you're gonna be able to deconstruct them and recreate something similar in your own way. Guys, this is not a tutorial on camera settings. If I say I'm stopping down, I'm not gonna tell you I'm stopping down from 11 to f16. I wanna say I'm stopping down, you know I'm gonna be stopping down. If I'm shooting strobe, I'm gonna go for a low ISO. If I'm shooting the Kinos or continuous light, I might raise my ISO a little bit. That's about it. You don't really need to know much more. Even if I gave you every single measurement, which would be tedious and ridiculous, and for you to try and match it up in your studio would be darn near impossible, you're not gonna get the same shots that I got. It's gonna be different. You're gonna have to build this awareness on your own and actually see light as it hits your subject's face. You don't need a light meter to do it, you need an eye and an awareness. Over the course of this tutorial, you're gonna develop a basic understanding of light that is gonna allow you to light any face in any situation and have control and do it the way that you wanna do it, so it becomes your light. So guys, as we go through this, we're going light by light, modifier by modifier. We're keeping the model straight, looking straight into the camera and watching what the light does specifically on their face. I'm not worried about direction at this point. I'm not going for a final image. I'm simply going for the light and learning what the light's doing over each of their faces. At the end, we're gonna go ballistic and we're gonna go into trying to get some shots for my portfolio and for the models' portfolios for whatever they would want to use, and really get down to the nitty-gritty and make sure I've got everything from styling, hair, makeup, expression, and my direction right on. Let's talk about the lighting for this video. I don't want you to think you have to go out and buy tons of expensive gear, but for this video, we decided to stick with one manufacturer, and ProPhoto has been the industry standard for pros for a while. I happen to use it and like it, so that's why we used it. This is my D1 head. The thing that really works for us, and in the very beginning and throughout the beginning of the tutorial, we shoot with the modeling lights. The reason why? Proportional. Look at this. So I can adjust the modeling light proportionally to the stop that I'm on, which gives us a really good visual of what we're doing. So in the beginning of the tutorial, I am showing you everything with a live view video feed with the modeling light, and I'm actually shooting modeling light. Light behaves as light. When the strobe goes off, we're gonna get the same effect as we get with the modeling lights. We just got a color temperature difference, and when I do the portfolio shots at the end, you're gonna see we're gonna be working with the strobe. But for most of it, we're adjusting, fine-tuning the modeling light proportionally with this system. So once we've taught you all the basics, we will be using this power pack, which is a cute 2R 2400 pack that I bought this in like 2001. It was the first big pack that I owned, and we'll use it to fire off the ring flash because the ring flash doesn't fit into a D1 head, so you need a power pack for that. So everything else pretty much fits on the D1s, and we'll be using those for our modifiers and light shaping. So the important takeaway from this is light is light. You may have a similar flash system. You know, this thing goes off and, you know, it's a big flash of light. You know, if you have something that does that, you're good. Okay, guys, here we go. I know you're tired of listening to me talk. Let's get down to the nitty gritty and learn the basics of lighting the face. All right, guys, so we're gonna talk about how to fire these bad boys whenever you wanna hit the trigger. So, easiest way, cable, right into the unit, into your camera, boom, you shoot it, goes off. Not good, not wonderful. You got a cable running around, it falls out, you're gonna miss shots, it's annoying. So what'd they come up with? They came up with radio transmitters. So, one popular one is a pocket wizard. So I take one of these units, I plug it into the Profoto D1 head, and I've got this one hanging off the head, and I've got this one going on my camera, and voila, there we go, we have light. Now, I've got one light firing, right? Let's say I have multiple heads, and I want to fire them all. How am I going to do that? Well, most flashes have the ability to go into a slave mode. So we put this sucker on slave mode, and now I hit this, it's gonna turn that off, and it's gonna give, well, look at that. Went right off at the same time. Holy smokes. It's simply this. This gets triggered when that one fires, and it's so fast that we don't even notice it by our eye, and the camera can't pick it up, so they fire at exactly the same time to get the same result. Watch this. You press this one goes off, immediately that one goes off. We're in business. So you do not have to have a ton of these. You need to have one transmitter, one receiver. You hook it into the light, and the rest of the lights can be in slave mode, and boom, they all go off together, not a problem. All right, so we've got a sync cord. We've got pocket wizards. But the pocket wizards, there's one downfall to them. They can fire the light, but that's about all they can do. Profoto has the air remote. The air remote has the ability to fire the light and also control it. I'm lazy. Guess what I like? I like my air remote. Why? Because I can adjust the power right here. And if I hold it down, it goes down one stop. If I hit it each time, it goes down in increments of 10th stops, and boom, I can fire just like that. So I usually use the Profoto air remote with my D1s. The really nice thing about this is that the receiver's built in over here. I don't have an extra set of batteries or something. I got batteries in this thing. I don't have to go, if it's really high, I don't have to adjust anything. I can do it all from right here. The end result is the same. The flash is gonna go off when you press the shutter. You just have to figure out what's the best for you. Sync cord, pocket wizards, air remote. All right, we're gonna talk about flash sync speed, guys. And this was a major issue for me when I first picked up a camera. I didn't have a clue. I was getting this black line through all my pictures. A lot of my pictures came out black completely for like the first 2 months I was shooting. I remember I was like in a park, in Central Park with some lights, and I was shooting them. I didn't know why I was getting this black line through my pictures. Flash sync, guys. You gotta know it for your camera. So this is a Canon 5D Mark III. And the sync speed on this is 1/200th of a second. So if you go faster than that, you're gonna get this weird black line in the bottom of your pictures. You don't want that, stop doing that. Like, just go slower shutter speeds. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna shoot at the sync speed that's rated for this camera, the maximum speed I'm supposed to shoot at, which is 1/200th of a second. And we're gonna take a shot. We're just gonna shoot this Profoto head as it strobes against the background. We are using the Air 1 remote, and we're shooting, and we've got a nice clear picture of the strobe hitting the background, clean and simple. Now, let's say I just don't know about sync speed of the camera. I don't have a clue. And I'm just gonna go up to a 2/50th of a second, and I'm gonna take the same picture. All right, I look at the back of my camera, and for some reason, something strange happened. There's a little bit of a black line. I'm missing part of the frame. There's a black line at the bottom of the frame. Not cool. It's just not cool. Let's go up even faster now. Let's just see. As you realize, I'm at 3/20th of a second. Here we go. Oh my gosh, now it's almost halfway up the screen. We'll go to 1/500th. And we're like 3/4 of the way blocked. We're getting black everywhere. This is crazy. This is just something that you need to know. It's something I didn't know when I first started. I found out, and I never messed it up again. What's happening is that there's a curtain in here, and there's a speed that it can get out of the way of the sensor. So if you go over that maximum shutter speed, what's gonna happen? The curtain's not gonna get out of the way in time, and it's gonna cast a shadow on your sensor. And you're gonna get this black line, and you might not know why it's there. I didn't know, but now you know. What you really wanna do is just keep this puppy at the maximum sync speed, because you're not really gonna gain anything from going any lower unless you're mixing in some other sources. But otherwise, just keep it at where it's rated, keep it easy on yourself, let it go that way. Guys, if you don't know the sync speed of your camera, just Google it, you're gonna find it. This one, I just Googled it, it's 1/200th of a second, or I could have tested it. I just go up until I see the black curtain, and I go back one, and that's usually where the sync speed's gonna be. So most of you guys, this is simple. You probably know this. Like, you know, if you shoot strobes all the time, it's a piece of cake. You know where you're at. But for me, when I first started, it took me like 3 or 4 months to figure this thing out for some reason, and that's why I'm talking about it today. I want everybody to be aware of it and never have to deal with that issue again. Guys, now we're gonna talk about the inverse square law. So what is it? It's basically light fall off. I love light fall off. I'm crazy about it. I use it every day. I need to know about the inverse square law. But do I need to think about the fractions and the mathematics behind it? No, I need to know the concept. So here it is for you. We got a Profoto D1 right here. It's blasting light at me, no modifier on it, and it's shooting light across this paper. We're gonna put a tape measure up. We're gonna measure 1 foot increments down this paper, and we're gonna measure the light source as it falls off. All right, you got that under control? Here we go. We got 1 foot right here. We got 2 feet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You get the gist of it. Okay, guys. So now we're just going to get a little technical, a little mathematical on you, and we're going to put it all up here, and we're going to see how it all plays out. All right, guys. So the reason why this is so important, I'm going to go over the equation here. The inverse square law is essentially the intensity of the light is equal to 1 over the distance from the light squared. And why this is so huge is because of light fall off. I'm a big shooter in light. I love fall off. I love playing with it. So this equation is really important to me. Not on a daily basis, but in my head, I'm aware of it. So the reason why, the distance from here to here, there's a huge amount of fall off in the first foot. But when I go 8 feet down, the amount of fall off from 7 to 8 feet is like minimal. All right, guys. Got my trusty marker. Let's get into this. So we're gonna mark these up. 1 foot increments, 1 each. So this is 1, 6, 7, and 8. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna square these. So we're gonna square these to get the inverse square law. Put a little 2 on each one of them. Fire it up. There we go. Okay. Yes, my handwriting's terrible. Just deal with it. So, so we're 1 squared, right? So 1 over 1 equals 1, right? 2 squared is 1 over 4, right? Well, we're going to do 100%. 100% light, right? 1 over 4, 25% light. It's hard to write on this thing with it moving, but that's what we're doing. So, 3 squared, 1 over 9, or what? 11% light. 4 squared, 1 over 16. 1 over 16 or 6% light. 5 squared, 1 over 25, or 4% light. All right? 6 squared, 1 over 36, 3% light. 7 squared, 1 over 49, 2% light. And 8 squared, 1 over 64, 2% light. Every time you double the distance, you drop the amount of light 75%. It doesn't matter if it's a foot or if it's an inch or it's a yard or whatever. Doubling the distance is going to drop your light 75%. So watch. from 100 to 25 in 1 foot. Now we're gonna go 2 to 4 feet. We're gonna drop it another from 25% to 6%. Then we're gonna go from 4 feet to 8 feet, and we're gonna drop it from 6% down to 2%. Every time you double the distance, 75% Gonzola. You gotta understand this. This is huge. This is why it's so insane. Look at this. We're at 1 foot, right? We're at 100%. A foot later, we've dropped a quarter of the, like 3/4 of the light. 75% of the light is gone right here. And then off on down. So when we get back here, the difference between here and here is essentially the same, both 2% of the light. That's crazy. This is photography, guys. This is what it's about. You need to know how important do you think it is to the distance of the light from the subject? Now you know. All right, so guys, now we've learned what the inverse square law means. Now, do we need all the mathematics and the mumbo jumbo to take pictures? No. Do I think about that on a daily basis? No. But what is important is this concept, that from here to here is a huge two-stop difference. And if I want to cause a shadowing on somebody's face, what's that mean I have to do? I got to put that light source really close to them. If I want to flatten their face out and I want the same intensity on their nose as I want on their cheek or their ear, what am I going to do? I'm going to move the light source further away. Simple as that. Think about how far we can get. If we want really flat light, we're going to move our light sources way, way back. Think about how far away the sun is. The whole earth is like lit up. Like there's very little fall off at all anywhere whenever the sun's shining at us. So get your light sources really far away if you want to flatten stuff out. If you want to really have some major fall off, get your light sources as close to what you're shooting as possible. So now you got this. Well, in this next example, I'm going to translate this into how you put this light onto somebody's face and really drive this home. Hey guys, so here we are. I got my buddy Kahari here, and we are going to test this inverse square law situation going on. So I plastered him with a pro photo head right in his face. So I'm going to let him close his eyes for this one. I'm going to test the light, and we're going to look at the fall off. So keep your eyes closed. All right, good. So we're at f22. Let's go to f22 on this. I'm at 200th of a second. And we're going to take a shot. So what you can see is amazing. So you get really nice light on the nose and the cheek, and then as soon as it hits his cheek, boom, black, falling off. You can barely, you just see his ear creeping in there. Now watch this. I'm going to move this back a couple feet, and we're going to keep going. It doesn't really matter how far we go. I just want to show you the basic gist of this. So we'll go back a couple feet. All right, we're kind of trying to keep everything about the same. And we'll do a test on the light, right on his nose. Keep those eyes closed. Okay, we're at 5, 6, 8. So I'll go to F8, which is basically F8. Okay, we'll go to F8. We're at 200. We're going to F8. Let's see here. F8. Hold on, keep those eyes closed. I'm going for it. There we go. All right, so now you can see his ear, and you can see the fall off is a lot. It's starting to get softer. Now the ear is in. Let's keep going back and try it again. Let's go back here. Let's try this. Do it again. 2.8. All right, let's try it at 2.8. Going 2.8. There we go. And now you can see even more of the back of his head. All right, now I'm going to put it all the way to the wall. Let's see what this does. All right, we're going to get it back here as far as we can. I think I'm going to have to up my ISO a little bit to get this to happen, but let's try it. We got to point it directly at him. Let's do a meter reading. All right, so guys, we're going to up the ISO on this. I'm going to go to 100. And now I'm at f2.8. Okay, so guys, I'm at 100 ISO now at f2.8. Let's try it. Good. From that, you can now see that the contrast from the front of his nose to his ear is a lot more even, and now I can see the back of his head. So this is the best thing about it. When you're looking through magazines and you're trying to figure out, dissect images that you've seen taken that you really like, that you want to recreate, you're now going to know exactly how far away that light source is. You can tell that we had that thing right up on his nose for the first shot, which had like ridiculous amounts of fell off very, very rapidly. When we move it back, a lot less fall off, a lot more detail. When you look at pictures, I want you to keep this in your brain and keep thinking about it. So throughout the course of the tutorial, I am going to be shooting them. They're going to be looking directly at me, but I'm going to be varying the distance of the light away from the subject in order to figure out how much fall off I want and how deep I want those shadows to go. If I want to open up those shadows, you now know I'm going to move the light away. If I'm going to close them down, I want that light really, really close. All right, so I have Cersei here and we are going to take some shots. This is really one of the major ways I use the inverse square law. Is I vary the color of the background with it. I like to change the color of my backgrounds. I have a white Hurley Pro White Matte Pro board back there, and I really like to make it go a nice gray, and I'll go different tones of gray with it. I can make it white, I can make it any tone of gray, I can make it black. So we're just gonna show you by varying the distance of the light from the subject, how the inverse square law changes the color of the background. So let's just do a meter reading on her here, and let's check this out. Okay, I'm at 2.8. We're at a 100 ISO. We're at 1/60th of a second here at 2.8. Perfect, Cersei. Hold that right there. That's great. There we go. Okay, and now I get her exposed, and I've got a fairly white background. If I wanted to go all white, I could either strobe it or I can move her right up against it. So it's going to fall off a little bit to gray. Now I want you to watch. I'm going to move the light closer, and we're going to stay on the same angle. I might lower it a little bit as we come closer, because otherwise it's not going to hit her properly. So now we're right about here, and we're going to do a meter reading and see where we're at. And I want you to watch. Okay. That's at 5.6. So we went 2 stops to 5.6, and we'll take a shot. And now I want you to watch. The exposure on her remains the same, and the background now starts to go a little bit closer to gray. Guys, so see, the background went a little bit more gray there, but let's really prove our point. Let's get this light right up in there, and we're gonna hammer her with light. I'm going to make sure the light's not in the frame, but I would like it as close as possible. Actually, I like to shoot the light in the frame and then take it out and retouching, but we'll keep it just like this, and we'll see what that does. Let's take a meter reading. All right, we're at 11. Let's go F11. And here we go. And we'll look at that, and now we have a nice gray on the background. Now, I like to vary that gray from an 18% gray to even darker all the way to black. In order to do that, I could either move the light all the way in and have to retouch it off, or I just move her away from the background. So Cersei, come take a couple steps forward for me. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, stop right there. Hold that, and we'll move the light back to approximately where it was. We're gonna shoot it at the same exposure because I'm guessing that's where it was. I mean, we could test it again, but I'm pretty sure that it's gonna be right about where it was, and it is. So if it was actually a little bit closer maybe. And let's just try this. Hold that, it's in the frame slightly. And let's just take a shot. Perfect. And now we've got a really deep thunder gray, and now let's just go for total blackness. Come on back more, Cersei. Now it depends. Yep, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Okay, perfect. All right, so now I pulled her way far away. I'm up against my wall. I've got the light out here. If I want to see how dark that background goes. Fantastic. Now we're talking. All right, guys, so we're gonna talk about hard and soft light here. I've got Cersei here. I'm gonna shoot her with a pro photo with just a zoom reflector on it. We're talking about hardness and softness of light. The softness of the light is determined by the relative size of the light source and its proximity to the subject. So imagine the sun. The sun's huge, but it's so far away that it's a very hard light because it's so small relative to the subject. So we're gonna show you some hard and soft light. So we've got a strobe here with a zoom reflector on it, and the light source is very small, and it's gonna be a very hard light. I'm not taking this picture to take a good picture. I'm taking this picture to prove my point and show you some shadows and stuff like that with a hard light. So we're gonna take a picture of Cersei here. Hold that. Good. And now you'll see from the shadowing, very hard shadows, hard light. Now we're gonna soften up the light, and we're gonna show you the difference. All right, guys, so I've replaced this zoom reflector with a medium softbox. There's some diffusion in there, so the light's gonna be a little different. So I'm gonna take a meter reading again. Okay, I went to f16, so let's just go to f16. Perfect, let's just look right in there. We're going f16, and oh my gosh, guys, look at the difference in the softness of the light on this bad boy. Holy smokes. See those shadows? See how nicely formed they are now compared to before where they were just really crisp and sharp? This is the biggest thing. I'm a big soft light guy, so I like modifiers. I like big sources. Let's just try it once more with an even bigger one and see what it does, okay? Watch this. We'll put the bigger one on. Okay, come on back in. Okay. Wow. Scoot back a little bit. There, right there. Hold that. Now I'm gonna test this again, and I'm gonna shoot with it in the frame a little bit because we don't really care about the pictures. This is to illustrate our point. Let me do a test and just see. Scoot back a little bit. Yeah, right there. I do want her in the center of the light. Okay, it's about the same at f16 because this one has a little bit of diffusion but not much. Let's just go in here and take a look. Same angle of light, didn't change the angle of the head. And now let's look at the shadows on this one. Wow. Totally different. Softened up quite a bit there. So let's imagine we were outside on a sunny day and it's noon. We basically created noon sun with that first shot, right? We got harsh shadows, we got stuff showing in the face and shadowing going on. I like going outside when it's overcast. Why? Because it's soft. You've got a huge, ridiculous softbox, and that's what we're creating in here. So you've got nice soft light. You soften up those shadows. Shadow density evaporates and goes away, and now you get a nice, really soft, beautiful light. So now let's say, see how soft that light was and how close the softbox, it's a big softbox, but I've got it really close to her. Let's say we move it a mile back. Now it becomes a really small point of light, and it's gonna harden up again because it's further away. So it's really how relative to the model where the light is that determines whether it's hard or soft. Now we're going to talk about something that you can change, which is very important, which is the shape of the light. If I put this magnum reflector onto this Profoto head, look, you can see the straight head out like that. I'm going to put a reflector on it. Watch how we're going to change the shape of this. So we're not going to change the size of the light source, but we're going to change the throw and spread of the light by adding a grid. So as you can see, the Magnum is the same size, but we've completely changed the shape of the light. All right, now I want to show you one more thing. Let's look at a very unique shape of light. Let's put on here, let's throw a beauty dish on here. Watch this. So notice here, we have a dark center, and spilling out over the edge, we have a brighter side to the light, where the light skirts out the side of the beauty dish. This may be a similar size to a medium-sized softbox or an umbrella, but the shape coming out of it's totally different. We're gonna go into more detail later, but I wanted you to realize right here, right now, that the shape of the light and the size of the light are two different things. If you want to be a well-rounded photographer, in my opinion, you have to nail natural light. It's the way I started. Everything starts there. So why not be able to mimic it and bring natural light into the studio? Really important for your skill set. I want you to take pictures that people look at and they can't tell whether you took it inside or outside. I want you to do the same. I want you to take strobes outside and mimic studio light outside as well. But in this section, we're going to teach you how to bring the sun into the studio. When you're in the studio and you want to make it look like you're outside, you ever have that situation occur? You want to be able to take lights and kind of give it a look as if so that somebody doesn't know whether it's natural light or not. I love that. I love tricking people, and we're going to do some tricks to show you how to make it look like natural light in a studio. There's two types of light that we're used to seeing, either direct sunlight from above or diffuse sunlight through clouds. So we want to replicate both of those. So think about this. How far away is the sun? Well, let's go back to the inverse square law. Think about this. How far away is the sun? How far away are clouds from our subject? Pretty far away, right? So we need to get our light as far away as possible to our subject in order to replicate natural light. So even though the clouds are much closer than the sun, when the sun comes through the clouds and diffuses it, the clouds are still a mile up in the sky. They're still far away. It's not like the light's right here. So we're going to get this as far away from our subject as we possibly can, and it's going to be a hard, small light source. So guys, because the light's so far away, we're going to strobe this sucker, but you can see just from the modeling light, look how sharp this detail is on this shadow. Very similar to what you would get if this was direct sunlight. Good. Guys, look at this operation. It looks like he's standing outside in front of a white wall, does it not? On direct sunlight right in his face. Does not get any easier than this. This is actually easier than shooting outside, because if this was really the sun, he wouldn't be able to look straight in the camera without being totally abused by sunlight. So let's do noonday sun. We're facing Kahari due south. We'll just do noon, which, by the way, if you are shooting outside, this is the best place to have the sun. You always want it directly behind your back if you want to get shadowless, or as shadowless as possible, which for most of my photography, I like that. All right, so let's see how this looks. We have shadows now coming directly underneath the chin, and the shadows all going behind him. And the sun is this would be like winter sun. I only have 11-foot ceilings in here. So this would be, in the winter, the sun is lower in the sky than it is in the summer. In the summer, the sun's going to be straight up in the air, and you're going to get shadows straight down. In the winter, the sun is actually lower in the sky. So this would be like a noonday in the winter. So now, let's say we want to create an overcast day. We still need the sun very far away, but we need to create, it's got to be overcast, so we need a big light source. We don't need the small light source, we need a big light source. So when you have a studio, the way that I recreated in my studio is that I use the ceiling as my big light source. I have a white ceiling. If you have a white ceiling, you can do this. And I'm going to bounce light off the ceiling to create a diffusion of light falling over him. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to turn the light around. I'm going to fire it into the corner of the wall so that it bounces back on him. Because I've got natural colors all over the studio, I'm not even worried about it. It's just going to fall off on him beautifully. So let's try this. So we're just going to do something like this. I'm just going to blast it up in there and see how it falls off onto him. And then I can adjust. We'll see how diffuse it goes. Let's just take a look at that. Wow. Softens it right up. Really soft. Since the light's directly I'm pointing it directly at the wall, it's going back that way, we're still getting shadows under here. Let's say I want to cast the shadows a little off to the side. I'm not going to move the light, I'm just going to point the head into the corner. And we're going to hit that corner, and now our light source is going to become that corner. And let's see how that does with him. Now we've got a little bit of side light going on. You can see from underneath the chin that there's a little bit of shadowing going on over here, but it's so diffuse, the shadow off to the side is totally gone because we're just blasting light all over the room. All right, so we're gonna do air conditioning lighting here. We're gonna turn it a little more so it slams the air conditioner. And we're gonna see if we can get a little bit more side lit on him just to see what it does. I highly recommend getting an air conditioner that is color balanced for your studio. All right, see how it's side lit? So the air conditioner lighting is fantastic. You just bounce it off there and you get a little bit more side light out of it. You can see the side of his face is going a little dark. You get a little more shadow. Pretty cool, guys. I'm having fun with this. I like what we've gotten so far. I'm a big fan of air conditioning lighting. I want to try and go even flatter and softer. So I want to bounce it around the room even more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a massive softbox, and I'm just going to point this sucker right at the back wall. I'm going to actually lower it a little bit. Now the only thing I might be concerned of is flare into my camera, but I think we're okay like this. And I'm going to get a little bit of bounce off here from the direction I'm pointing it. So I'm gonna get a lot of downlight. The strongest bounce is gonna be right here, which is over his head, but I'm gonna get fill from that back wall with this. So it's really gonna look like an overcast day with light down on top of him. And I'm probably gonna bring it a little bit this way so we keep the main light source off to the side. So if we do see any shadow, it'll be over in here. So let's try this. Guys, I just love this. I mean, it's just so simple. I mean, you have to have a white room, obviously, and I'm getting bounce off the floor, and the floor's, you know, warmer, so that you might have to adjust your white bounce. Obviously, I've got a linen backdrop here that's getting something hit to it too. So you got to, depending upon your surroundings, you want to watch what light does when you blow it around the room like this. But I'm amazed at how it looks like he's outside on an overcast day. Really, it's just super cool. Guys, bouncing is a tool that we all use as photographers that can't be underestimated. I'm bouncing light all the time off different things, off V-flats, off ceilings. We have the ability to shape this light to make it look more like natural light and to put it wherever we want it on him. We're using it very subtly here and bouncing it around the room, and I'm just loving the effect that we got here in this shot. So now we're gonna put the light source behind him and take shots as if the sun was behind the subject, which I like to do. So we're gonna try that. Now I've got the light behind him. We're just gonna take a shot. He's gonna go a little bit dark, but then we're gonna bring some fill in. We've got some bounce off the wall, so he'll light up slightly, but let's just see what this looks like. So guys, this is a correctly exposed shot, but it looks like he's outside, right? It looks like the sun is just blasting him and we're overexposing it. It's just abusing his head. All right, we're gonna stop down the camera and we're gonna darken him up a little bit so we get more detail on the side of his head. So I'm at F8. Let's go down, let's go F11 and see what that does. So now we've lost detail on his face. I'm at F16. We're gonna bring the V flat in and see if we can open up some of those shadows and then adjust properly and try and even this out. For this example, I think it's great to see how we can fill with some V flats, and you could use reflectors on both sides or whatever, and get them a little bit closer to your subject and try something like this. I happen to have big V-flats in the studio, so it's kind of nice to be able to fill and see what we can get. Now I can lower the light, which I can't lower the sun. The only way I can lower the sun is if I lower my camera, and then I can get the sun lower on him by going down, but I'm gonna get more sky, and it's dependent upon what's in the background outside. In the studio, we have more control, obviously. So I think this is a great example of what it would look like if he was outside on a bright sunny day and the sun was behind him and we were filling from the front. It's a simple technique that you can use outside, but just make sure you have assistants and reflectors, or I use buildings, I use sides of mountains, I use, it depends on your environment and where you're in, but if you're looking for a good place to shoot, I like big walls that bounce a lot of light on my subjects, and I'll use that outside, so be looking for that. It's rare that I recreate natural light in the studio. But if you want to be a well-rounded photographer, this is part of your balancing act. You got to know this stuff. You're technical in your back pocket when you're shooting. If you need to